Alright guys, today I want to talk about the topic of failure and how to deal with failure. It's funny to me because I feel like a lot of people on YouTube are always coming from a place of success. A lot of people are always coming from a place of, oh, I work at this company, or I work at Google, or I do this, or I do that, I'm a machine learning engineer, all these different things. And I feel like they're talking about their success and kind of how they got there. And I'm not that kind of person. I mean, success is all relative, but I'm not someone who works at Google. I'm not someone who works at Facebook. And I actually want to talk about my experiences with failure and how they've gotten me to where I am today. And ironically, I'm actually really thankful for them. The first thing I want to point out is just the fact that a lot of people don't like to address failure, but that's strange to me because I think failure is actually super important in order to be able to actually succeed at whatever you're trying to do one day. I would actually recommend that you don't shy away from failure. I think you should try and embrace it. I think failure is something that's inevitable. It's something that we all experience collectively at some point in our lives, in some aspect of our lives. And I think that all you can do from it really is learn. Learn from your failures and have them help you propel you towards your success one day. So when I was a sophomore in college, I actually had my first failure in programming, and that was the fact that I was taking two classes for my computer science major. I was taking discrete mathematics and I was taking data structures, and I was actually failing them. And that was really scary at the moment, and it still kind of gives me, like PTSD now to even think about it. But it was like a really polarizing moment in my computer science major. And the reason for that is because I really thought to myself, like, maybe I can't do this. And maybe I shouldn't be a computer science major, and maybe I should switch to something else, something that's easier or something I'm better at. And, after looking through all the majors at New York University and deciding I don't care about any of them aside from computer science, I kept working at it, and I decided to work that much harder. And I went to office hours and I talked to my teachers, and it's funny, I actually really kind of got by the skin of my teeth, and I think I needed a 73 at the very least to pass these classes and to actually have the credit count towards my major, and I made it out of my data structures class with a 73.04 is what I think the actual cumulative total grade point average that I had was. And that was terrifying, and that was the worst semester of my life by far, and it was super hard, but I made it, and I got through it, and I learned things from it, right? I learned that I have to work that much harder if I want to be a computer science major. I learned things that I should do and things that I shouldn't do, and it was a really huge moment for me, and it really made me work that much harder to be what I wanted to be in life, which was an engineer, essentially. So fast forward a few years, and I'm actually now graduating New York University in May of 2017. And so it was really cool. I felt super proud of myself that I had made it through college and I was officially a computer science major. And almost like a movie, the day before my graduation, I actually received an offer from a company that I ended up going to. And again, keep fast forwarding, almost a year to this day now, I was laid off. And so I was laid off from that first job, and it wasn't anything I did personally, but I was laid off, and that kind of hurt. And the company basically split its workforce in half, and I fell on the half that didn't make it, I guess. And however you want to put it, I lost my job. And I think a lot of people would take that and they would feel sorry for themselves, and they would be upset, and they'd be angry, and they'd be confused, and they wouldn't understand why. And I chose to think about it differently. And I actually chose to have the viewpoint that this is positive, and that this is going to lead me to something that's even better for my career, lead me to be something that's even better. It's going to teach me something, and overall, whatever is happening with this experience, somehow I'm going to come out on top. And I did. And it's funny because the first thing I did when I got laid off is I actually made a joke. I made a joke about someone asking me to do something the next week on a weekday, and I was like, oh, I really would, but I have work. And obviously I didn't have work. And ultimately, I just chose to think about it as a positive experience. And I believe that things would get better, not because they simply would, but because I knew that I was going to put in the work to get to where I wanted to be. So what did I do? I started studying. And so I started studying really hard for my interviews. I was putting in, hours and hours and hours in a day. I was doing handfuls of problems on LeetCode. I was reading, engineering blogs. I was doing anything I could to make myself a better engineer. And I actually ended up getting an on-site at Google. And So I think it was in June, I actually had an on-site interview at Google New York City at their office in Chelsea. And I felt good about it. You know, I worked really hard. I got the interview. I worked even harder, you know, the weeks leading up to my on-site. And the day of the interview came and it went. And the 5 interviews that I had, 5 technical whiteboarding interviews, I thought they went really well. And I was able to solve all the questions. I, was able to talk about optimizations and pitfalls of the problem, the coding solutions I had created. But I didn't end up getting the job. And again, it felt like a huge failure, but that's okay. I just looked at it as an opportunity to become better, to become a better engineer, to learn from this experience. And again, believe in the fact that eventually one day it would lead to something even better. And so even more recently, I had an on-site interview at Facebook. And I went to their office and it was the same kind of deal. So I interviewed at their office and it was at the top Union Square in New York City. And again, I didn't get the job. And except this time, I had my 5 interviews. I thought they went well. I felt pretty good. I was able to solve the problems. But before I left, I actually made the mistake of taking a photo shoot. And so now, forever, my name is on the Facebook wall. And I think that's hilarious, one. But it's kind of just going to be there, I guess, indefinitely. And who knows, maybe someone will erase it. Maybe they do erase them every week. I have no idea. But I just thought that was hilarious, and I thought I would share that with you guys too. But again, I just took it as a positive experience, right? I learned things about their company. I had more interview experience just from being on site with them, whether I got the job or not. And again, I'm believing that I can one day get that job. I know it's going to lead to something better. It's all part of the learning process. So all these setbacks, failures, missteps, whatever you guys want to call them, I actually believe have contributed to getting me to where I am today. And I just want to put that out there because I think a lot of people in this community, a lot of YouTubers are talking about how they got to this successful place and the steps that they kind of took to actually get to where they are. And I want the masses, the people who aren't engineers at Google, the people who aren't engineers at Facebook, to know that not everyone is, and it's okay. And it's not always that easy for people. It's not always that easy for me. And that's totally normal, and that's okay, and that's natural. And I think it's important to remind yourselves that these setbacks or things that seem like setbacks are actually setting us up for success. And it's one day, in my opinion, that those failures are really going to lead to your success. So the whole point of this video is really just to tell you that you can't really avoid failure. Failure is something you can't avoid in life. We're all going to experience it. But what you can choose is how you respond to failure. You should think about it positively. You should think about how failure is going to propel you to success. And when you do reach that success, it's going to be because you had all those failures while you were moving up. So guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, if this was helpful, do me a favor, leave it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll see you guys next time.